Now it's going to work. Hello, you've returned to another episode of the Wlog. It's a vlog, and it's also an audio podcast at patreon.com/M3podcast. I got that plug wrong for an entire week of podcasts. It was disgusting. I'm disgusting. Bask in my disgustingness. Now we're back. I know Tyler listens to these now. My faithful partner in crime. And by partner in crime, I think guy who does, let's call it 65-35 split now. I feel like that's fair to say, and I'm maybe giving myself a lot more credit than I deserve. But you know what? That's why the Wlog exists. 3 days a week now. It is official. Twitch.tv/Walski Live, 3 days a week at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You'll find me here. You can hear my voice. I can reach out to you. I can reach out to you, Daddy. I'm reaching out to you. I'm going to be the champion. I tried to do a Dusty Rhodes there, and it kind of fell apart. And there he is. On time, all the time. Lawman, my Belgian brother, it is always good to welcome you into my fold, into my friendship circle, into my live talks and my live outings. And it's good to hear from you, man. You were listed as one of the topics on the podcast this week to talk about really quick. We may kick you to the B-sides because I call you Lawman, and my podcast partner, he's like, wait, Lawman, like a sheriff? And we had a nice hearty laugh at that. So it's good to see you, pal. And it's okay, don't worry about it, dude. You make almost every single stream that I do here. That's why you're one of the rare exceptions of people that I will interrupt the actual recording of the Wlog to acknowledge, to say hello to. You are of the premium class. You are of a premium state. So, okay, let's kind of get into things here today. I want to thank all of our beautiful Patreons, who will sometimes listen to the audio versions of this. So we have Isabel, we have Smitty, we have Matthew W. Rockville, we have Mac Laves, and we have Chavs Banger. And we appreciate all of you for laying your money down on the table, for being a premium boy. We appreciate you so deeply. And Lawman, who is a premium boy on the Twitch side, the side that you are possibly watching on live right now. Okay, enough grandstanding. You don't tune in for that shit. Let's see. Well, you know what, man? Lawman, what a good day for you to be tuning in. Your comment here is your mom is mad that your sister is with someone that uses drugs. Now that depends. What kind of drugs would that be? Let's be specific so I can include it in all of my talk today. Because today we're talking about health, body, things of that nature, ups, downs, all around us. Okay, so let's see, like Coke and LSD. All right, well, so I don't like Coke, but if it's just Coke and LSD, depending on the age, it's something you can't snap out of. I mean, LSD. I mean, whatever. LSD comes and goes in your life. It's not terrible. I mean, opioids. Opioids are the problem. But we're gonna. And if you don't like them, yeah, then fuck them. Like, don't just talk. Don't remember what we said about the advice I'm able to give on relationships. It's always very poor because I am a subpar human being. I don't succeed much at the whole humanity thing, but I do my best. I have a nice little podcast here, so that's my contribution. I'm giving back because he did. Oh, goodness gracious! Well, thank you for being very for being carefully wording that, Lawman. I do appreciate it. You've been very, very, very good at how you word things on the stream here in your very fun language. But we will get to that then as we talk here. So let's bust into the main meat of our conversation here, and it will involve drugs and things of that nature and how it affects your body. Because I am no health expert. This isn't a health podcast. This isn't a, hey, how to get healthy, fucking look at me. This is my experience with my body, being healthy, not being healthy, ups and downs with that, things of that nature. So let's cut into it right now. So I wanted to do a Wlog on this topic, and if you haven't kind of picked up on it now, the Wlog essentially is just I just think of a topic, whether it's a single game or a single genre, it's just one thing, and just kind of fire off the dome for as long as I can on that particular topic. So I wanted to do this one mainly since I've recently begun somewhat of a journey on getting myself back in shape, and that mainly constitutes what I would maybe describe as about 1.5 miles of walking a day and 150 wall push-ups. It's like, that's really it. You can tell I'm still burping because I have one heavy seize, one drink, and I become a burping fool. Or anytime I get in front of a microphone, it's just constant. It's like, gas wants to escape from my throat. And again, that ties into body image and things like that, but I'm going to get to that later. But I've recently tried to be a little more conscious about what I'm putting in my body. Again, conscious doesn't always mean resilient. Doesn't always mean I fight off the urges. But I'm doing the best I can. I'm a fucking gigantic person. I'm 6'5". So, carrying a lot of weight on such a big frame, it's not really good for you. It's not good for me. It's not good for anybody else. It's not good for my family. Especially because I have a 2-year-old and a almost 7-year-old. And I want to be able to, almost 2-year-old, almost 7-year-old. I'm not going to age him too much. But I want to be able to play with them, be very active with them. And 30 is getting ready to punch me in the face, and I can feel it. I really can. So it was a combination of all those things, of COVID, I became quite sedentary. I pretty much stopped working right as COVID hit. I was home with the kids all the time. I've talked about this before. I just sat and was still, and got so used to it, so wrapped up in it, and it's hard to kind of emerge from it. That's where walking comes in. Let me take a quick drink here as I hydrate, stay as healthy as I can, in the middle of also drinking beers, which is why I sort of have a dry mouth. Crazy how that fucking works. But I just decided it was time in this particular cycle. I feel like I've had a couple of instances where it's like, all right, I'm going to try to get healthy. And there was actually a couple that did really well. I talked about it in the boys' room today at patreon.com/M3podcast, using number 3. I talked about how when I was training to be a pro wrestler, I was in incredible shape. And it wasn't even so much about how I looked. I've always kind of had like a big upper body and really nice fucking legs, and I will show them one. I think I'm allowed to, but one of these days I'll show a video. I have gorgeous muscular legs, and they're the best part of my body, and they don't look like they fit me. They look like they belong to somebody else, because in the top half of my body is just very weird and too big and doesn't make sense. I'm like a meat lollipop, and it's not. A lot of people will get mad, like, don't rip on yourself like that. You can look at me. That's what I look like. I have a very nice bottom half, and then, top half gets a little funky. I'm trying to make the match. I'm trying to bring them together. Sorry, my son's singing in the other room. Made me laugh. And I also couldn't quite remember where I was going with that particular thought. I'm trailing off on. Hey, talk, buddy. Can you keep it down just a little bit? Give me a minute to do a dad thing. I'm gonna do that real quick. Tucker, can you keep it down a little bit, bud? Thank you. Ugh. He's a cool guy. He's a cool kid. Leave it running. All right, we're back. We'll do it live, as I always say. Edit this on the main. Nah, just leave it all, man. That's what the Wlog is. And I know he's not that loud, but I can hear him through like the It's really weird how I can hear myself and hear him so much better on the mic. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you won't think that you hear him, and then I'll go back on the audio recording and I'll be isolating something, and you'll hear it. And it's all right. He's a good kid. He's out there getting after it. That's what this is all about. This is a diary, a look into my life. I'm glad you guys could be here for it. I'm really looking forward to when he goes back to real school, though. I've been doing this I've been streaming on Wolski Live since COVID, honestly. And it has been, every time you've heard me doing something that isn't in the, the boys' whole studio, that is the M3 studio name. Anytime you haven't heard something recorded there, I'm here with my son, most likely. My daughter has a daycare she goes to, but I'm here with my son because that's where he does his school. So it's cool. We're making it work, but it's almost over. Like 3 more weeks. But anyway, yes, health journey. Trying not to be a big fat fuck anymore, but still trying to stay, a big sexy man. I know so many other people really struggled with my body all throughout my early, I guess, like my preteen years and honestly, as long as I can remember, really, since I was about my son's age, 6, 7, 8, 9, since I got a little soft. And even when I played football, I was always a lineman. I was always a bigger guy. But again, I look back on how I looked then. I'm like, God, how could I ever think I was fat? Like it's always just been like that staircase thing. It's like, yeah, whenever you're on the next rung of stairs, you look down, you're like, shit, how was I ever down there? Like how could I ever imagine that? So I always had, and for a long time, I was bothered by the way my body looked. You know what I mean? I always had like a big chest, moobs, essentially. Gut wasn't always too bad. That's been recently. And that's like the rediscovery of beer, which I'm trying to undiscover, but obviously I'm drinking one right now. But I just always felt weird about it. I didn't look right. I never looked like anybody else. I was kind of an athlete, but I kind of wasn't. And I never took any serious interest in my own health. I never took any serious... I did in certain spurts, you know what I mean? And by health, I mean, obviously I'd go to doctors and stuff, but like calories and what I'm putting into my body and how active I'm being. I would just be active when I needed to be active. I would sit around when I wanted to sit around, and eventually sitting around kind of took over, it took precedence. It just kind of happened that way. I feel like that's almost a part of growing up. It goes both ways. Like you either become that person that stays inside a lot and watches a shit ton of movies and plays a shit ton of games and starts a podcast and does streaming, or that person who, again, is on social media a lot, but usually taking pictures of their hikes or their rollerblading or their whatever they do, which more power to them. I think it's awesome. I wish I did that sometimes. Take a little water here. Mouth is quite dry today. Quite dry. So I stopped playing football around the time I really got into rock and roll. And even being like a bass player, it just seemed like the way my body looked fit the kind of stereotype of the rock bass player. Just like, oh, that's the bass player. If you know, you know. If you don't, I really don't feel like explaining it right now. Just the kind of oafy, dumpy bass player. And I was cool with it. I didn't mind. I loved what I was doing. I never had to worry, like I found, the person I'm married to now, met when I was 19. So like, it wasn't a worry. And I never had to worry about dating because women always approached me, and it wasn't like flocks of them, but it'd always be like one or two. And I'd just like stop and like, okay, you for now. And again, just was terrible with ladies up until I met my wife. And then I just became, I guess, tolerable to one. I don't know. I'm a bit of an awkward man. Still am. So I just kind of rolled with it. And I always told myself, like, as long as I felt good, I would be good. And that still stands today. I really believe that. It's not what I look like. It's how I feel. I noticed that immediately after I started walking, I go on walks. But as soon as I started walking and doing the kind of wall push-ups and the exercises and the stretches, I felt a shit ton better. And I felt more comfortable putting on a sleeveless shirt. Like, I felt better. I didn't lose any weight. I looked exactly the same, but I just felt better. That meant so much to me. And sticking with it for about the month or so I have so far, I can wear anything. I feel comfortable in my skin again. And I need to kind of keep that up. And I envy, not envy, excuse me. I'm trying to think of the right word. Fucking so terrible off the top of my fucking head. One of my patrons, Isabel, thank you so much for helping me out. Idiosyncrasies. I got that fucking word right. I'm so proud of myself. But I Oh fuck, what was I gonna say? Yeah. Anyway, working on it. Working on the regime. Working on getting thin, but not really getting thin. Just feeling good. And as I was talking about, that's the main focus, is just feeling good. But there are times when I want it to match. I want my body to not look like an upside down pyramid. Like the logo in Control. And I struggle with that sometimes. I also struggle with other things, like my face. If you can't tell, so I have this issue with my eye right now, and it's kind of flared up. It's, from what I understand, it's going to be like this for a couple months. But I've always kind of had a funky eye like this lazy eye, and I make jokes about it, my Forrest Whitaker eye. But there are times where I'm like, man, if both eyes just worked in tandem and looked like each other, I'd probably be a lot happier. You don't realize that until you really stop and you think about it. And then when you stop and you think about it, it's what makes you feel shitty. And you try to put that out of your head, because so many people are thinking about it less than you are. And I do that with a lot of flaws. I always try to attack myself first before anybody else will. And that is a defense mechanism, but at the same time, being attacked, I feel lucky that I've surrounded myself and been around people that appreciated good self-deprecating humor. It kind of taught me that, like, it's kind of funny to dump on yourself. Like, every human looks different, acts funny, acts weird. So to kind of have your own jokes, your own sort of bits about your own personality, I think that says something about you. I think it makes you a self-aware person. Or having friends who are willing to, the friends that you love and you cherish, that are willing to like dump on you in kind of a personal way. Be like, yeah, you do this dumb shit, whatever, X, Y, and Z. I don't know. But again, self-awareness is really important, and having friends and colleagues and even yourself, giving that to you, that genuine assessment of your behavior, I feel like it could be really positive. But that's just my fucking opinion. But again, the first times I noticed I was having issues with weight and body image was honestly when I started playing football. The years that I played football, which again, some of the best years of my life, Crofton Cardinals, football, let's go. I spent, gotta think, what was it? So, 275, 90, it was about 6 or 7 years in that program. I did win one county title. It was fucking awesome. One horrible year of high school football, but we won't talk about that. That intramural football stuff, that was real. And, my little town and our little county took it pretty seriously. And a lot of those games had nice attendances, and, stats were kept, and uniforms were nice, and fields were cool. It was just a great thing to grow up doing. But for those first couple of years, we had to weigh in before every single game. I mean, you had to be fucking 75 pounds at like 7 years old. And, Law, man, I just saw your thing and I'm stretching for you right now, big man. Oh, he redeemed some channel points here at twitch.tv/Wolski Live. I want you here. I need you here. We need you here. All right. There it is. Gorgeous. Okay. All right. Love it. Thank you for making me stretch, Law, man. You're a good guy. But I always forget, whenever someone redeems channel points, I forget where I was going with it. You all have to deal with my absent fucking mindedness. Oh, bother. Let's see. The first time. Lawman. All right, so I'll take a second to answer some questions here on the Wlog. Let's see. I feel you. Also, I cannot get a wife because and have a good no. So no, if you break up with someone, you can find love again. Don't believe that anti-hype. That's just, marriage is a funny thing. It's a funny institution. It's not for everyone. It's really difficult and it's challenging, for both parties. But there's an immense satisfaction that comes out of it. That's honestly more than love sometimes. You know what I mean? Marriage isn't just about love, and people can kind of say that all they want. It isn't. A relationship is just about love. A marriage is it's deeper. There's other moving parts to it that if you're not in it for that, which I'm in it for that, I like the other moving parts to it. And it's not going to work out for you. But no, don't worry about that, man. Keep yourself going. Guys, you can twitch.tv/Walski Live. I would love to have you here if you're listening to the audio only version. You can steer the show however you'd like it as well. You can ask questions. This is always ask me anything at all. As much as I can answer, inside of the Twitch terms of service. But anyway, all right, football. Yes, you had to be 75 pounds, and then it moved up to 90 was the next. And then 110, and then 130. But then by the time I was getting to 130s, it had become unlimited, they called it, and it was just ages, which is how they should have done it the whole time. It was pretty ridiculous that they made it, and then it did stop. It stopped, and then it became you weighed in before every season. The last 2 times I did it. But I remember times where I didn't make weight. I had to go to a secondary weigh-in, and it was horrific. It was horrific. It was 130. It was 130 pounds. It was one of the years that I had to make 130 pounds. And I just didn't make it. I was 131.2. And you had to be 130 point, you know what I mean? Just couldn't be over. Couldn't be a pound over. And I was a kid, and I remember breaking down in tears in the locker room of the school because you had to travel to another school. Like, it was serious business. This little recreational football league was serious business. I have such fond memories of it. That's why I love. I talk about it a lot, but I love the kind of intramural sports system. It's really fun. It gives the kids a sense of being. Fun for parents. Again, it's one of those things where you could teach kids that competition could be fun, but it also teaches winning and losing, and how losing isn't the end of the world. You learn hard losses, you learn great victories, things like that. I think that's really important for a kid to learn. But I just was like in tears. I was like, I fucking missed weight. Like, that feeling, I never want to relive it again. It's one of the worst ones. I could feel it again. I can remember that, like painted over burp count, a painted over kind of wall that schools had. I just remember how cold it felt. I remember like leaning up against it in the bathroom crying. I think my dad or someone came in to come see me, and they really felt for me. They felt for me because I loved it. I had a spot. Like, this was a great team that I played on this year. This was the year that we won the championship, I think. So it may not have been unlimited. It may still have had to weigh in. Again, I'm mixing my histories here a little bit, but this did happen. And it just shouldn't be thrust upon kids like that. It should be relative. You should be encouraging healthy behaviors, healthy eating habits. You should be acknowledging, weight gain when it's not healthy. But that should be done by certain professionals. I don't think that's up to sports leagues. I don't think it provides that much of a competitive advantage to be a pound over 130 pounds. Like that's just me. Found it a bit unnecessary. This was 2005. Not that long ago. Fairly recently. I don't think it's just not necessary, but it's something we endured. It did, to a point, encourage healthy eating habits, but it also encouraged weight cutting, and weight cutting is not good. It's not good at all. Again, 5 pounds here or there, maybe in a Vegas fight, I don't know, a UFC fight with millions of dollars on the line. Maybe I can understand having to really make sure those weight classes are set, but when it comes to youth and children and things like that, it really needs to be a little more leeway, and not to hide them. You know what I mean? From proper criticism of their eating habits and their bodies, but just like, again, having your world collapse around you because you were 1 pound over. From personal experience, it didn't fucking matter because I was the second string center that year, so it wasn't like I was a killer. Again, I got plenty of playing time that year, though. Played, had a great time. Got to win a title. The only title I've ever won in my entire sports career. One title. It was fun. It was worth it. And that's really all I can think of with just the history of me and my body as a kid. I mean, I fell into such an accepting group as soon as I got out of high school when I started playing music with people. I fell into this group that the odd joke here and there, it didn't really matter. I just felt like I belonged because of the talent I had, the personality that I had, and I was just around people that just, they cared, what I looked like they didn't care what I looked like, And also, any romantic encounters I had, it was because I was tall. That was it. I admitted this. That's how I met my wife. That's how I met any girl that I had any interactions with, sexual or otherwise. I was tall, and they were like, "Wow, you're really tall." And then it kind of goes from there. You can't really help these things. So it just never came back up until you have those own moments of reflection with yourself, and you're like, "Okay, well, what am I gonna do about this? Am I gonna let myself get to a point where maybe there is no going back, even if you do make an attempt to get into shape? Are you able to accomplish that? Or do you take action now?" And that's as simple as, like cutting out soda, cutting out alcohol, which I swear, I have this beer. I've had 2 or 3 sips of it. Seems like anytime I'm talking about a topic or I'm doing some sort of discussion, I contradict the fucking shit out of myself. Again, I am an imperfect being. That's what this whole fucking Wlog is about, isn't it? I was told recently, actually by Tyler of all people, it's a video diary more than anything else. I guess that's correct. I let you inside. I open up the mind and I let you take a dive into the crevasses. Let's keep diving. I'm gonna take a sip of my beer actually, and then we'll keep diving. And I encourage people, reach out. The Wlog is free for anyone at patreon.com/M3podcast. But again, we're having people reach out through the messaging on Patreon. I really appreciate that. Just anywhere you can reach us, reach out. Whether it's on Wolski Live, on the Twitter, my Twitter. M3 doesn't really have a Twitter. I have one that I have made for it, but I'm so bad at using it. We're really active on Instagram and Facebook. But reach out, ask questions. I'd like to make a Wlog about what you want to hear, what you want to have talked about. Maybe you have something you want me to consume and review in some sort of capacity. I would be happy to do such a thing. But I'm sort of going to take a big swig of beer here and see where else I can take this conversation in my head. Because again, this isn't one I can really ramble on too long about, because I've kind of wanted to have my own reflection. I've never really had an out loud reflection about my body and how I think about it and what I'm gonna do to make it better. And I want to see where else I could take it, because the conclusion I'm coming to is I just want to feel better, and I want to make sure I live long enough to see my grandchildren. Maybe my grandchildren's grandchildren. That'd be pretty cool. It is the future. Living to 130, that'd be pretty rad. You don't want to be immortal, but living to be 250, that'd be pretty dope. I'm just saying. Beer time. That was quite the manly gulp. That was the manly gulp. And I'm gonna continue the Wlog. Yeah. Alright. What am I going to do to change this? Do I want to change it? The answers are all yes, definitely. Wanting to be healthy. Wanting to not just really reduce those chances of just like a weird sudden death and leaving my kids in a weird spot. That's something you don't think about as much, but I've been thinking about a lot lately. Mainly because I just had a death in the family that was sort of sudden. And just, in the interest of privacy, and it's family I don't see too much anymore, so I don't want to go too in depth, but that kind of snapped something in my head, of course. I was already kind of on this path, but it's just one of those, aha. It all makes sense. It could happen at any time. And it may not matter whether you work out or not, but I just feel like it cuts down on the chances, It gives you a better chance to live a longer life. And, I'm a realist. What just happened? Hey, Shaman freaking Malik. That just scared the pants off of me. That just scared the bejesus out of me. I forgot what my subscriber thing was. It just came across, and Shaman Malik just subscribed to Tier 1. He's a beautiful person. Let's see what he wrote here. I was just getting into a super, super depressing spat there. And that just, I swear I'm not depressed. It's just, I had to fall down the hole a little bit there to get in the mood to discuss the topic in the right way. But anyway, what does he say here? Hey, bud, I've been pretty busy at work, but letting you know I'll be watching the VODs. I will try to find some time the next week to stay for an entire stream. What a fucking guy. What a guy. What a dude. Shaman Malik, he's been here since I've been doing 10 viewers. He's been here since before M3, since before the podcast started. So I'm going to give him a quick reply. And I'm just going to put absolute legend. There he is. Absolute legend, because that's what he is. But I can acknowledge things like drinking alcohol don't help. Eating shitty foods doesn't help. Dude, DoorDash became such a crux during this fucking COVID bullshit. I fell into it pretty fucking hard. I really did. And you end up ordering really good foods. You think you're being, health conscious and things like that. You get Chipotle, think you're being cool, and then you just fall down the green turtle rabbit hole. And you used to just be able to order pizza, man, and you could order anything. Just the combination of everything. It was just like a perfect storm and a good excuse for me to let myself go. And it's just time to turn it around for the sake of myself, for the sake of people who like watching me, which is a couple of people, which is nice. There's proof. You have Lawman, you have Shaman Malik, who are willing to pay money to hear me. There's 5 other beautiful people on Patreon who are willing to pay money to hear me and Tyler. They're like, no, we need both. Not just you. So, you just feel an obligation to the people that are around you to want to make a change. So I'm trying. And a lot of it's I got to be better about what I'm eating, but I'm doing better about how often I'm eating. Just eat your 3 squares or 4, It's not really a strict diet regimen, which maybe even that I would see a lot more benefit. That's really all I can think about in terms of body, dieting. I want to be healthy. I want to be healthier. I want to be a person who's active and plays a sport. I had just invented a sport, gosh darn it. The beautiful game of wiffle cricket. I'm so proud of it. You got to kind of go to M3 and you learn all about it. Wiffle cricket is an absolutely choice game, and it's going to sweep the nation. Like I said, after Doubleday, eat your stupid fucking heart out. One day you will understand. You will understand why my sport is superior to yours. Anyway, that's really all I have. I'm rambling at this point. I'm glad I picked that topic on the Wlog, got out of the way. I kind of had to squeeze some juice out of it because as I came to realize as I was talking, I'm pretty happy with the way I look. It comes down to being realistic about it, being able to point out my flaws and make jokes about them, and just making myself feel good and understanding that certain parts of me are always going to be a little funky. I'm just a weird alien type person. But as long as I feel healthy, I'm able to be active and, play with my kids in an active way, not be crawling along the ground, feeling like I'm going to die, then I feel like that's a success. And I feel like that's what I need to get to. And if I can stay there for as long as I possibly can, then I can live a pretty fruitful life, pretty happy life. And that's a happy way to end this. This is a nice reflective vlog. Patrons, subscribers, please suggest things. You're more than welcome to give me a topic of something to consume, something you'd like to know about me, to talk about, ask questions on the live chats at twitch.tv/Wolski Live if you are listening on the Patreon. And if you're listening here on the Twitch, you can go to patreon.com/M3podcast to listen to the audio-only version of this for free. It's free, guys. It's free for everyone. That's like taking sips of water. It's free for everyone. This is how I engage in absolute unprofessional broadcastership. Drinking and burping and coughing on air. But this is how I do it. This is how we do it. And that's going to be the end of the audio-only vlog version of this beautiful journey. See you on the next one. Thank you for your patronage.